Welcome back. As you know, I'm Eli the Computer Guy here for the Daily Blob, where we ask the question, just because our current president understands how to go bankrupt, does that actually mean he understands how businesses operate? So it's been kind of interesting. There's all these America First policies that are out there, and they all seem to be costing our businesses a hell of a lot of money. You know how Ford is the largest manufacturer in the United States, and they're having an absolute heart attack over Trump's tariffs policies? Well, it does seem like so many of the major corporations in the United States actually have some big issues with how Trump is trying to do things with trade in order to make their businesses better. Anyways, so what we're going to be talking about today is how Trump has cost NVIDIA $15 billion. Now, before I get into this video, I do have a pre-written statement that I want to read to you so that everybody understands my real feelings on this situation. Chinaman is bad. Chinaman has always been bad. We have always been at war with Chinaman. These are my true and honest opinions that have been written from the heart. So now that my loyalty oath is out of the way, let's talk about what Jensen Huang said at Computex. So NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang at the Computex trade show in Taipei on Monday said the Trump administration's ban on its H20 chips for China has cost the company $15 billion in sales. During an interview with technology analyst Ben Thompson, Huang called the ban, quote, enormously costly and deeply painful. He pointed to the $5.5 billion in charges the company expects to see in the first fiscal quarter due to the ban. So this is a policy that initially went through under the Biden administration. Again, since we know for a fact that Chinaman is bad, and I, as a white guy, should have the power to tell Chinaman how far their society should advance. Under the Biden administration, there is this diffusion rule, this AI diffusion rule, where basically we said, as the United States of America, that China should not be able to increase its advancement in the artificial intelligence world. And so we started trying to ban AI processors, basically GPUs and other technology, from being able to be exported to China. And so under the Biden administration, basically they came out with these rules that said, NVIDIA or any other GPU vendor could only basically export components with, a certain level of resources. Now, under the Biden administration, again, it was interesting to see this, is that NVIDIA looked at the rules. They looked at the law and they said, okay, so we can sell up to this level in resources. And basically what they did is they designed these H20 chips and they designed other things basically to be under that level. And then Biden last fall literally called NVIDIA out for it, saying, I see what you're doing. NVIDIA's following the law. The Biden administration put through an asininely racist law in order to basically stop the advancement of another civilization, which was absolutely and utterly god-awful. And NVIDIA is going along with that god-awful law. But basically what the Biden administration was trying to say is no, right? We are putting the laws through that we legally can, but we're expecting our technology companies to understand what we are demanding and then go even further, which was a bit of a curious thing. Again, to be clear, under the Biden administration. The diffusion rules apparently are now gone. We're going to get a whole nother set of rules in. But basically, there's this idea is that with NVIDIA and the other GPU manufacturers, that they are not able to sell China GPUs and other equipment up to a certain level. And so NVIDIA had been planning to sell their GPUs to China. Again, China is a massive market, is an absolutely massive growing market. And they were going to sell their GPUs. But because of this ban that was put through under Biden and is being enforced enforced by the Trump administration, basically they're going to be losing $15 billion in sales. We are told that AI is currently our crown jewel. It is absolutely and utterly important that we maintain at the forefront of AI technology. And in order to support our AI technology companies, our government is going to kneecap their ass to the tune of $15 billion. Now, NVIDIA is trying to comply with the government, but again, the government is never happy, right? NVIDIA has repeatedly updated its chips for the Chinese market in the past several years to comply with ever-tightening U.S. trade restrictions, making the chips less and less powerful with each new iteration. The latest ban on exports of its chips last month came just as the U.S. government said it was investigating NVIDIA over the use of its AI chips in China. Isn't it nice to know that we live in a free country where free men and women are able to go about their lives freely? Unless the current political establishment doesn't like what you're doing, and then all of a sudden you're going to get all kinds of investigations, right? It cited the release of a cheap AI model from Chinese startup DeepSeek, powered by NVIDIA's prior generation H800s, which are currently banned from export to the country. So not only is NVIDIA losing $15 billion in sales, but even with the sales that they have, right, they're under suspicion by the government for not following all of the rules perfectly. And the issue with the government continuously basically trying to restrict the power of the GPUs that are able to be sent to China is that there are basic limitations to the architecture and the technology. You can only chop off so much before you literally have a worthless product. Huang implied NVIDIA can't make another AI chip with its Hopper architecture for China under the current restrictions. Quote, "That's the limit of what we can do to Hopper, and we've cut it down to there's not much left to cut," he said. Anybody who thought that one chess move to somehow ban China from H20s would somehow cut off their ability to do AI is deeply uninformed. Oh my golly. Surprise, surprise, right? The person leading one of the most valuable technology companies in the entire world right now is saying that our political establishment is deeply uninformed with how they're trying to do technology policy. He added that the China AI market is worth $50 billion a year. And curiously enough, they want to buy our products. I'm just saying, if you want to deal with the trade deficit, maybe sell them the products they want to buy. Quote, "China's doing fantastic. 50% of the world's AI researchers are Chinese, and you're not going to hold them back. You're not going to stop them from advancing AI," he told Thompson. And this is one of the big issues, again, with this whole anti-China ban policy, trying to restrict them with basically how far they can advance with artificial intelligence, is if we do not sell them the products, they are going to build their own products. And the whole anti-China policy from the U.S. government is actually putting the entire world into a very weird position. So China was quite happy to buy our processors and our technology for a long time, even if it did have a high markup. Again, CPUs, GPUs, all of those types of technology, China was more than happy to buy by the boatload, right? If they're building laptops or computers or servers or smart TVs or whatever else, it was easier for them just to buy the chips from us and slap them into the product, and then basically everybody makes money. But with this whole anti-China policy, right, we've been trying to restrict the amount of technology that China is able to access. And the interesting thing with this isn't just simply processors or GPUs, but it's actually the technology to build the processors and the GPUs. The problem that we run into with China, though, is that they don't really want to roll over and piss themselves. Just because an old white guy half the world away is telling them that their society has advanced far enough, they're basically have no interest in stopping. And so that's what we saw with Huawei. So Huawei was banned from getting chips, not just from the United States, but from the Western world. And now they're literally creating their own chips. They have their own processors, they have their own 5G stack. And not only that, they've come out with their own AI processors. And the curious thing with the AI processor, the GPUs that they've come out with, is, as far as I can tell with everything that I've read, from a performance standpoint, they seem to actually be stacking up against NVIDIA. Now, you need more of the processors, this whole basically the architecture style about how many GPUs you have and how it all gets connected together. Apparently they need like 4 times as many GPUs to get the same performance that NVIDIA gets, but the important thing to understand there is to get the same performance. So they're getting the same performance, they just had architected in a bit of a different way, and apparently it uses more electricity. And now I know it might be a shock for anybody out there to hear, but China is willing to build more coal-fired plants in order to push their AI progress forward. So yes, it uses more electricity and has a different architecture style. But basically, what has happened is because we have banned not just the sale of the chips themselves, but also the sale of the tools and the dyeing and all that kind of stuff that goes into building those processors, they've been building that entire vertical on their own. So now they have their own technology, their own lithography technology and the rest of it for creating the processors. They're creating the processors themselves. Again, the CPUs, the 5G stack, the AI GPUs at this point. And so what's interesting is by trying to keep China back, we are actually, in many ways pushing them forward. And so now we're in this very bizarre, topsy-turvy world where our politicians, again, are kneecapping our technology companies. Again, they're costing NVIDIA $15 billion. They're causing issues for Intel. They're causing issues for AMD. They're causing issues for many of these technology companies that, again, are supposed to be some of the most valuable industries we have in our country. These are supposed to be the industrial leaders for our country, and we are actually damaging them. At the exact same time, right, we are giving motivation for the Chinese industry to basically take off. And we've all seen this story before. Some of us have been around for the past 30 years and have seen what's happened when China decides to target a particular market. And so we're going to be in this weird world where within the next decade, China is going to be producing the lowest cost CPUs, the lowest cost GPUs, the lowest cost electronics and AI equipment out there. And I don't know, I guess we're still going to be crying over things and still trying to say that we are the best. And so it's kind of curious to just take a look at this. And when you see the continuous, just disastrous policy decisions by the American government and see how, again, it's pushing China forward and damaging ourselves at the exact same time, just how idiotic all of this really is. And one of the most concerning things from a technology professional's standpoint is, again, in the United States, we never look in the mirror, right? If the people in our country have drug problems, we blame the Mexicans, right? If the industries in our country are not keeping up, we blame the Chinese. We blame everybody other than the person looking at us in the mirror. And so my concern here, too, and something that you should be thinking about, is with the American government continued failed AI policies, is that they are never going to look at themselves in the mirror and realize that it's their policies that are causing the problems. So as we're seeing now, where NVIDIA is literally being investigated over the whole DeepSeek thing, right? So DeepSeek is that AI model that came out a number of months ago, and basically they embarrassed the hell out of OpenAI, right? They were able to deploy this thing. Who knows how much it actually cost in order to be able to create, but it seems like it was a lot less than it cost OpenAI to create the same type of model. And so the issue is that our politicians, right, instead of just looking in the mirror and figuring out what's going on, they're trying to look for somebody to blame. And so basically the easiest thing to do is blame NVIDIA. Oh, why is China succeeding? It's not because they're doing well. It's not because we are not investing in education in the United States, right? It's not those types of things. It's that, oh, NVIDIA didn't do what we wanted them to do, ergo we're going to punish them. One of the things we saw under the AI diffusion rules under the Biden administration was this idea of using export controls basically to restrict the access to models. Again, we can argue about export controls on CPUs and GPUs and actual hardware. How well does that work? That is what it is. But think about this. The Biden administration wanted to restrict access to models. Basically, all this is data. And again, all you need is an FTP connection and you can download something, right? So imagine this. Imagine if you are a college student, you are working on coming up with some new innovative AI model or whatever else, and then you collaborate with somebody. Again, open source is a big thing. Collaboration in the technology world is a huge issue, a huge deal. And so you go online, you find somebody else that's working in the same realm you are, you collaborate back and forth to create some great new AI innovation, and you, my friend, won 10-year vacation in prison. Why are you going to prison? Oh, because you collaborated with a Chinaman. And since we have always been at war with Chinaman, you are a traitor. Again, you think that's a joke, but that's the world that we're getting into with these asinine policies. And it's something to be very, very concerned about. So, what are the takeaways here? Okay, I'm Eli, the computer guy. I'm supposed to be teaching you folks stuff, crap. What's the takeaway from this complete idiocy? I think my takeaway from this complete idiocy is that I would caution you as a professional from focusing too much on artificial intelligence. Now, I know. That's not what you're hearing from everybody, right? What you're hearing from everybody is you should be hyper-focusing on AI. AI is the future. One of the things that I'll warn you about with any of these technologies, though, is that technology can be the future and it can also have very little value at the exact same time. One of the ways I've been thinking about AI lately is Netscape. From back in the 1990s, right? So Netscape Navigator was like the original web browser most people used, and it originally cost $40 US. $40, like back in like 94, 95 when it came out, it cost $40, so that would be like $100 today. So if you wanted to get on the internet, it cost you $100 in today's dollars just to get the web browser in order to go on the internet. Well, the thing was, Microsoft comes in, they see that Netscape is doing well, Microsoft does what Microsoft does. They come up with their own web browser called Internet Explorer. They tie it into the operating system, and then they give it away for free, right? Why pay $40 for Netscape when you can just use the free Internet Explorer that already comes with the operating system that you have on your computer? And that is a point in time where you had this technology, a web browser, was inherently valuable, but Microsoft came in and basically just destroyed the actual cash value of that particular product. When I look at artificial intelligence, and again, it's not just with this whole US versus China thing, it's all the stuff going on in the world. Again, you have Facebook coming out with their Llama models, right? The Llama models, it's not open source, but you can use the Llama models for any company that has less than like 700 million monthly users, right? Apparently that was for like Snapchat. They don't want Snapchat using the Llama models. So as long as you have under 700 million users, you can use the Llama models, right? So Facebook, Meta, puts all this money, all this time, all these resources into creating the models, and then basically you can use it for free. Again, DeepSeek comes out. That's supposed to be an open source model. You have all of these models that are coming out. You have all of this competition within the AI world. And I think one of the arguments that I make is it's not that AI isn't valuable, it's that from government policy to industrial policy to how these companies are actually deploying these products, I think the commercial value of artificial intelligence is basically being destroyed by the day. And so one of the things that I'd have you think about is in this modern world is do you honestly believe AI really is the golden ticket to your future? Again, there's a lot of stuff going on in technology, everything from sensors to robots and all kinds of different things. Is AI really the place to bet, again, for the next 5 or 10 years? And I would argue probably not. I think about this. I have a buddy of mine who just exited an AI company. So his company actually got acquired. Apparently did very well off of it, and I was talking with him about whether or not he'd do another AI play, since AI is very, very sexy and exciting right now. And the curious thing that he said is that when he started his AI company, it was like 8 or 9 years ago. So he could go to LinkedIn, or he could go to somewhere, he could post something on AI, and basically only people that were actually interested in AI would click, but it was a very valuable, subset of people that would click. The issue, he said, now is that since AI is so exciting and popular, that, as soon as a new model comes out from DeepSeek or whatever else, 10,000 people have posted about it. Right? Basically, that there's so much static, there's so much noise in the AI space, he literally doesn't know how to do the advertising to get any buzz or interest for the next project that he might do. And I think that's one of the things to be thinking about. Again, this AI world and business, right? And business and technology is many times the time to get into a particular vertical within the technology world is not when it's exciting and everybody's talking about it, right? The time to buy Bitcoin was when it was $1, right? I had an old employee of mine back in 2010, and he showed me those Bitcoin things. And he's like, yeah, I don't know, they're worth about $1 now, but it's kind of a curious concept. That was the time to invest in Bitcoin, not when it costs $107,000 a Bitcoin, right? Again, with AI, the really valuable time to get into AI was, again, about 2017, 2018, before it was the most exciting thing out there. And now that everybody's trying to get into AI, the thing that you might be thinking about is what is the thing that is past AI to focus on, so that one, you have more of ability to actually grab a massive chunk of value, since there's fewer people in that space. And then also, one of the things to be considering is in the modern regulatory environment, where we just have an insane political class that is trying to kneecap China using whatever tools are at their disposal. Is it worth the risk? Right? Think about this. Literally, if you go out and you try to build something with AI, and one of your collaborators is a wrong person, you could end up in jail. Is it worth the risk to focus on that type of technology here and now? Which would be my question. So anyways, what do you think about this? What do you think about NVIDIA losing $15 billion because of Trump and because of the government policies? What do you think about China? Again, a $50 billion market that we are now leaving essentially for the Chinese companies to go after. What do you think about this? Again, criminalizing the successful companies simply because we dislike how that technology is being used. Does that sound like the ways of a free country? I don't know. Put your thoughts down below. And with that, I'll see you folks later.